Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm going to talk today about the new trailer for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. Came out about a week ago. It's been a very busy week in flight simulation, so there's been no time for me to get to this until now. I've watched a couple videos on people's take on the trailer and what they kind of gather from it. Not a whole lot of substance in my opinion, so I really want to get into some substantive stuff. We've talked before about the flight model, what we can expect with the flight model. We've talked before about the performance that we can expect. I'll put links to those videos in the description. And let's get right into looking at the trailer and digging into it. There's a couple of things that really jump out at me. And of course, we know we're going to get the updated data, the updated visual imagery from Bing. We know that they're going to be doing a lot of work on the AI side to enhance these images. And they're going to do things like liveries for the aircraft. They're going to be doing a lot more very high quality base aircraft for the sim. You can assume there's going to be an A330 that we're looking at here, which looks incredible. One of the things that people have talked about is this whole pursue your career thing. And I've heard a persistent worry that this is going to be a game versus a sim. And Asobo has already stated categorically that will not be the case. So people who like to do things like, kind of the more immersive stuff. I mean, I love VAs. I love being a member of virtual airlines. But the other thing is, there's not a lot of options in terms of things like if you want to do, smaller aircraft type operations, there's plenty of, Delta, American, KLM, all these big airline kind of operations. But if you want to do smaller charters, if you want to do, cargo transport, things like that, there's not a lot of kind of career type moving your way up the chain type of things with Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. And that's what I anticipate those options being available in 2024. So this is one of the specific things I wanted to look at and talk about, and we'll go back and watch this a couple times. Now, one of the things they talked about initially was the incorporation of coiling ropes and movable fabrics and things like that in the sim. And you can see that here in the pickup of this sign. We're going to look back and watch it really slow here, and you'll see how neat this is. It's just absolutely fascinating. Look at the rope. How it gets caught, uncoiled, it's pulled up. And then the sign. Look at how the sign's moving, getting pulled from this end, lifted up and twisted as it goes up into the air. Check that out. And you can't quote unquote simulate that in a way that looks realistic. It has to be the way the air moves, the way physical objects in the sim interact with the atmosphere. And this is another example of it here. You can see the way the grass moves. You can see the way the water moves. Look at that way that it interacts with the ship. Let's go back and take a look at that again. You can see as the plane comes over, as the helicopter comes over, the way the air interacts with the grass and makes it move, the downwash from the helicopter blades. And again, here in this scene, you can see the smoke around the outsides from the flares that they've put down for the landing. And you can see the dirt, the way the dirt kicks up and how the dirt moves in the back. See that? See how the dirt moves behind the airplane? And here we can see the hot air balloon getting blown up again. You can see the fabric and how the fabric interacts and reacts to the heat that's getting blown into it. Really pretty interesting stuff. Opens up a whole new world essentially in Flight Simulator 2024. And you can also see in the lower left corner, one of the things that you see throughout the trailer is animals. And they've talked about herds of animals as well. So we're definitely going to see those, which is really pretty interesting. Now here we've got some before and after these. The first image is going to be the Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 image, followed by the 2024 image. From the trailer, you can see this here. A bit different in terms of the time of year, but I think you can see quite a bit more detail in the ridges and the angles, and we'll see this a little bit better as we move on. This is Flight Sim 2020. Again, look in the distance, kind of everything sort of kind of softens as you get further away from the camera. But if you look here, look off in the distance right here, these edges, how sharp they are, and the detail. And that's going to be from the ground tessellation, the ability they have now to not only capture more imagery of the Earth, but also with the AI technology to upgrade what they can't quite make out from the satellite imagery. So I talked about this in the video that I did on the initial trailer, which is that the ground imagery that they can take now, they can enhance with AI to go from a relatively low resolution image that they can get in a lot of places of the world, or that they have from a lot of places in the world, to very, very detailed high resolution images. And you can see the difference. See, even down here, kind of soft and sort of generic, and you can't really see the edge of the ridge right here, even though there is one. Go to 2024, look at this. Nice and crisp. You've got fog in the valley, which is extraordinarily realistic, really beautiful. You've also got high cirrus clouds right here, which we don't have in Flight Sim 2020. Again, here a nice coastal image. Think, hey, that looks pretty good, right? Doesn't look as good as this does. And again, the water. I mean, I've always loved the the formations on the water in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. It's one of the first things I noticed when the game first came out, is that the water is just not this flat blue, right? But this is much, much different. Even though it's very pretty, it's well done compared to older flight sims. This is unbelievable. And again, the really crisp imagery that you can see. Here again, we have Flight Sim 2020. Not bad. This is pretty cool for a desert view. This is a whole lot cooler. And then here we start to get into something that's very, very interesting. So this is Flight Sim 2020. And one of the things they've talked about is the trees. And the trees in Flight Sim 2020 are 2D. And you can see here, this looks like paste. This especially. This just looks like it's clearly a one-dimensional or two-dimensional image. Looks very, very flat. There's no depth to it. Same here. Same here. I mean, they don't look bad, but they don't look particularly good either. Now let's look in the trailer, and you can see there's depth to the trees now. In here, there's depth. You can see through the tree to the other side. Here, you can see the branches to the back on the other side. And these again as well. They're not just a pancake image. Looks much, much more realistic compared to what we see here in terms of just a flat, clearly two-dimensional image. This looks a whole lot better. Look at the branches, and you can see into the tree. Looks fantastic. Another image from Flight Sim 2020 looks great. Really does. Looks nice. This is the Northern Lights image. Look at the crispness of the ridges right here. And again, off in the distance, look how that crispness continues. It doesn't die. And you can see the lights down here too are a lot more, it's a lot more feeling of depth to them. They're not just little white and red spots on the ground. As you can see here, just little white spots along the ground to give you some kind of a taste of, ground lighting and a city and a road. Whereas here, look at that. They look elevated off the ground. It looks like it's going through a little village. You got some red lights right there. And again, the crispness here along the edge. And we go back here. These are not bad. They're really not bad. They're not as good as this. You can see especially here and here. But in particular, when you get off in the distance, not even too far off in the distance, look at this. This is kind of bland. And you can see this here again, the light in the valley, the distance, the depth to the mountains here, and the ridge lines. Now here's a really amazing one. Waterfront scenery. Um, what's amazing, look, we've got these little, clusters of beach umbrellas, which is pretty incredible that we've got that in Flight Sim 2020. Look at this in 2024. The trees again, have depth to them. There's more of a feeling. You can see the edge of where the water has run up on the beach here. You've got even shadows on the ground from the beach tents. The water is alive. You can see it moving. Here, it's got some of that to it, but it's pretty uniform. And then when you get over into here, it's kind of, it's not nearly as detailed an image as you get off into the distance. And that's the thing I've really noticed is that the distance and the depth of the images is quite a bit different in Flight Sim 2024. Here we have Yosemite Valley. This is photogrammetry in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. So this is a photogrammetry image, right? In 2020. Look at what this is going to look like in 2024. Look at the difference. Look at this. This is not really much to this over here. Look at this. The edges, the ridges coming up here. And again, if we look at the trees, you can see the depth to the image of the trees. You can see how some branches are in the back. It's not just one 2D image splattered on top of another. That you get a sense of this being closer and this stretching out to the distance as you go. Whereas here, first of all, the trees aren't. I mean, look at this. Look at that. And you just have this kind of green. Look, it looks like a poor paint job, is what it really looks like. And here you've got the bushes along the ground. And look at this. This is a fern right down here. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable. And again, the image in the distance, the depth that it has, and the crispness. It's an unbelievable difference. One other thing that I noticed in the trailer is look at all the everything that's going on in the ground now. You've got so much more ground equipment, a lot of variety of trucks and vehicles and towers, and you can see the people walking onto the plane here. All kinds of different people moving about. They're not generic kind of images. One of the things that I was wrong about is I said early on, I think this is going to be a complete ground up rewrite of the sim. They have made clear that's actually not going to be the case. This is a major overhaul of Flight Sim 2020, essentially. But it's really just taking a lot more things off of our PCs and putting them in the cloud for us to use. We've talked about the physics and the aerodynamics, and Asobo going to be making aircraft templates for developers to work from. So I think there's going to be a lot more freeware aircraft in the sim because you're going to be able to take a single engine piston template, a twin engine turboprop template, and work from that template in creating your aircraft. I think that's going to really open up a lot more freeware. They've moved the flight simulator onto a different core. One of the things I talked about in my Project Lasso video is moving Microsoft Flight Simulator off the first core of your processor because because that's where your Windows system sits and runs, and it's going to give you better performance. They've actually taken that and now put it into the sim, moving the sim itself onto a different core and the physics and the aerodynamics onto a different core. So they've actually done some of the things in the sim that I've found workarounds for that we've talked about in other videos. Now, I talked earlier about the improved visuals, so the tin model, the triangulated irregular network, which is one of the things that they're going to be using to kind of enhance areas of the world that they don't have the best photographic image of. Now, in this case, they can actually create 3D out of 2D, add rocks, add surface material, add tessellation to these areas of the world that we don't really have the good imagery for. And the interesting thing about the backporting of this new physics engine from Flight Sim 2024 is that one of the big concerns that people have with the new sim is my stuff going to work? I bought, hundreds of dollars worth of planes. Are they going to work in 2024? The answer is yes, but it's interesting the way that they're doing the changes to the physics and the physical characteristics of the airplanes, as in the case of the soft tires and the landing gear stuff that they've done on the C-172 G1000, that they've backported into Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 from their development for 2024. So developers are going to be able to take a piece of code and insert it into their existing aircraft to add these options, to add these capabilities to their existing products. So not only are the products that we already own going to be usable in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, they're going to have this option to relatively easily update them to add some of the new physics and add some of the new capabilities that the new sim is going to have. Now, of course, this is going to rely on the developer actually taking the time to add this code to their aircraft, but Asobo is making that as easy as possible, and hopefully developers are going to take advantage of that and bring us these new options. So what did we get with this latest trailer? We got the release date, which is November 19th, which is pretty close to what I predicted a couple months ago. I predicted October, but I think what we've really gotten is kind of some meat on the bones of a lot of the things that Jorg and the team have talked about in terms of, you know, the physical world, the ropes, the trees, the improved ground images, this sort of stuff, soft fabrics. So I think we're now getting to see more of what they've talked about actually in play now, and we're getting a lot better idea of what that's going to look like in Flight Sim 2024. I think it's going to be amazing. A lot of people have some kind of, in my opinion, weird ideas of what might not work and what's going to be bad and blah, blah, blah. They've had 4 years of developing this. This is going to be a monumental leap forward, in my opinion, in flight simulation. I'm a day one buyer, no questions about it. And so I'm really looking forward to it. I hope you guys are as well. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Please share those thoughts in the comment section below, and I hope everybody is having a great day.